Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. I'm your host, DB. Let's get into it. Did the rom-coms of the 90s and early aughts totally mess up how we think about love and sex? Spoiler alert, yep, they definitely did. I'm DB, and this is Rom-Com Bomb, a new podcast miniseries from Sex Ed with DB, where we dive into the iconic rom-coms that made us swoon and cringe at the same time. We're talking You've Got Mail, Never Been Kissed, Twilight, and more, with hilarious guests who will help me pick apart the scenes that sent us all the wrong messages about love and sex. Plus, we'll reimagine how these films could have gotten it right. First episode drops October 9th. See you there. Just type in Sex Ed with DB wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back, you horn dogs. You know what this episode is about. This episode is about porn. Okay? It's normal. It's fine. We're horny. Get used to it, okay? The question that someone wants to know is, what is the most popular porn category? And I love that Pornhub does a year in review every year to go over the most popular search terms, what's going on in each state, in each country. There are some really, really great, interesting little tidbits in here. And we're going to go over it all together. And there is a link that we're going to put in the show notes. So you can be looking at this at the same time as you're listening to it, or consider this just your little audio experience of the thing that I'm going to be reading off of. You don't need to look at shit if you don't want to, and not suitable for work. So if you're listening to this at your job or on the go, you don't have to pull it up. No pressure. Yeah, let's talk about porn for a second before we go over this 2023 year in review. Porn is normal. A lot of people watch porn. It is a healthy way to engage in fantasy. You can watch it by yourself or with a partner. Most porn is not similar to real life sex. We know this. It's important to remember we use porn as a tool to engage in acts and certain kinds of experiences that maybe we don't even necessarily want to do in real life, and that's okay. We shouldn't feel shame about porn. We shouldn't feel shame about us engaging in something that makes us feel good. And so that's my little spiel on porn before we dive into this 2023 year in review. So what we have here is kind of like the overarching categories of top searches, traffic and time on site, popular categories, queer searches, demos, where people are watching, any movie and TV characters. Take a few guesses maybe. If you're thinking of someone hot, they might be in porn. Video game searches, top 20 countries in depth. Okay. So the trends that define 2023, the number one trend is the golden age. Okay. This has to do, I bet, with the Golden Bachelor. People are horny well into their 80s, 90s, 100. The term mature searches grew by 77%, and it became the second most popular category among men, led by mature cougar. MILF and DILF were very popular categories. Also, muscle DILF grew 71%. You're welcome for a new search term. Granny searches gained 132%, and GILF increased by 168%, with terms like sexy granny and hot GILF trending. Okay. Number two trend, the terms big, bigger, and biggest grew by 177%. Huge tits, huge cock, huge dildo. No surprise. People like big boobs, big bodies. Even though people shame fat bodies, like, of course, they are fetishized in porn. So that's not a surprise to me. Definitely should be thought about. We should be conscientious about this. Maybe time for another episode. Let's see here. Most search terms of 2023. I think this is the same for 2022, but the number one search term was hentai, which is anime porn, if you haven't heard of it or seen it, followed by MILF and lesbian. Okay. So yeah, hentai coming up strong. no pun intended, for multiple years in a row now, which is pretty crazy. Most search terms of 2023, same kind of things: lesbian, MILF, hentai, like things. Clearly people like queer women kissing. Clearly they're into older women, and they're also into cartoon porn. And I don't know, cartoon porn is really interesting to me because I feel like we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes for real people for porn. And we know that some people aren't getting paid as they should. Like the sets aren't as safe and equitable as they should. For a lot of mainstream porn. That's why on Sex Ed with DB we always talk about Dipsy and Make Love Not Porn and Crash Pad series, like queer and feminist porn outlets. And so I think like the interesting thing to me about hentai is that like there are no actual people involved other than the artists, and like the hope is that they're getting paid well. And so I'm just kind of intrigued by this and like very nervous and interested to see how AI porn will compete with hentai. That's a whole other can of worms. But yeah, if you're interested in learning more about AI porn, we have an entire episode on that, team episode that we did a little while ago. So check that out within the past couple months, and listen to that. I'm sure you want to know United States top relative searches here. Okay, this is very funny. In Texas, creamy. Alaska, sex doll. Colorado, femdom, hot. Wyoming is goth. Are you serious? That's very surprising. Go ahead and take a guess about Oregon. I'm sure you're not going to get it. The answer is nudist. Pennsylvania, big boobies. New York, body swap. That's interesting. North Carolina, bubble butt. Alabama, fingering myself. Okay. All right. We can move right along. By a mile, many miles, the number one country by traffic is the US, followed by the Philippines and then France, which is really interesting to me because France has so many less people than both the US and the Philippines. Fascinating. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, favorite times to watch porn? No surprise, most people are watching between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., but there's a large swath of people also from 3 to 6 p.m. What's going on there, guys? Are we taking a porn break at our jobs? What's happening here? Okay. We have what we're ready for. This is the question here. The original question was, what is the most popular porn category? And I am here to tell you, in 2023, the most viewed categories were: number 1, lesbian; number 2, Japanese; and number 3, ebony, followed by anal and MILF. So then followed by transgender, which I think is so fascinating. Like, again, we're like shameful. We're like feeling shame and shaming other people who are trans and who are queer. And yet it's like the 6th most popular category, which gained 1 ranking from 2022. And also an interesting thing, threesome was a very popular category and it dropped a lot in rankings. So people must be, I don't know. It's just so, I don't know what to make of this. I think I'm just like processing all of this. But I do think like the fact that lesbian is number 1 just shows that like people who are straight and are of every gender identity and sexual orientation watch gay porn. And like, I think that that's something that we should really understand, as like, if we are searching for queer porn and we are against queerness in our daily lives and how we vote, we really need to look at ourselves in the mirror. Do we not? Like, we really need to consider what is going on here and why is this happening? Why are we so just horrific towards queer people when we're like using their bodies to get off like that? Like, ugh, you know what I mean? Just, ugh. Anyway, what other fun things are here? Okay, what are the most search for gay terms? Number 1 by a long shot is twink. Then we have anime, panoi, Asian and hentai. Again, people are into cartoon porn. Like, we need to get used to it. Okay, so fascinating. Pornhub gay, most viewed gay categories. Number 1, straight guys. You see what I mean? Like, we're getting our wires crossed here, and it's totally normal. It's understandable. I get it. People of all sexual orientations watch all kinds of people. And yeah, the women's favorite number 1 is lesbian. And you're not telling me that all women are lesbians who are watching that. Scissoring, up 196%. Transgender, up 175%. Pussy licking, up 105%. That's good. I'm into that. I like that is increasing. Oh, okay. Let's talk about generational differences here. So what are Gen Zs watching compared to Gen Y, Gen X, and boomers? Gen Z's number 1 category is cosplay. Fascinating. Okay, this is embarrassing. Number 2, I'm in this category. Gen Y/millennials, muscular men is the top category. Gen X, scissoring, followed by vintage. Really interesting. Boomers. Boomers, the number 1 is smoking. Okay. This is what the tobacco industry has done to these poor boomers. And number 2 is transgender, once again. And a majority of people watch porn on their phone. 91% of people watch it on their phone. We got 7.2% on a desktop and 1.5% on a tablet. Go iPad users. All right, folks, I could go on and on. I highly recommend that you click the link in the show notes here, because there's so many interesting facets of this year in review. But I do think that we answered our question here of the most popular porn category. People love lesbian stuff. People love hentai. People love ebony. And yeah, porn is fun. We want to make sure our porn is ethical. Once again, if you are interested in watching porn, I do not get paid by these companies. I am just a fan. Before I let you go, I have to tell you about next week's miniseries that's starting to air. We are thrilled to announce Rom-Com Vom. What the hell is Rom-Com Vom, you might say? It is a mini-series where we're exploring 90s and early 2000s popular rom-coms, and we're looking at the ones that gave us shit messages about love and sex, which, let's be real, probably most of them. We're going to be having amazing guests on, like Logan Ury, Reed and Florence from Come Curious, Francesca Ramsey, so epic. Love her so much, and other amazing guests. And we're going over popular films that you love, like You've Got Mail, Never Been Kissed, 10 Things I Hate About You, Twilight, Hitch, Shallow Hal, 50 First Dates, Love and Basketball, all the classics, okay? And so, yeah, I'm excited for this. We have a new episode coming out every week, starting next week, every Wednesday. And I love talking about the media. I love talking about how it shaped us and our culture. And this is just so awesome that I get to do this as my job. So I hope you tune in to Rom-Com Vom starting next week. Share the love. If you love this episode, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. So excited for Rom-Com Vom. See you then. Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalel. Our communications lead is Catherine Cohen. Our producer is Sadie Leegee. Our marketing coordinator is Mitch Coburn. Our social media coordinator is M. Kirsty Frazier. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thanks so much to our featured guests, partners, and listeners. Want to partner with us? Email us at sexedwithdb@gmail.com. Do you have a silly sex story to share, need some advice, or have thoughts on the episode you just heard? Give us a booty call for a chance to be featured on the podcast. Check the show notes for the details. For more sex ed content, follow us on IG at sexedwithdb podcast and on TikTok at sexedwithdb. Want to know your sex toy zodiac sign? Go to our link tree on our IG now. See you next time.